So hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Amesie's Corner. How are you all doing out there? So it's update day. It's a long overdue update on everything that's happened with the channel, everything that's happened with the projects, and some other stuff that's gone on in the past 6-7 months or so, which kind of will explain why my videos have slowed down a little bit. So yeah, why don't we get to the bad news first? The bad news is back in September, I was arrested for a YouTube video, and it kind of came out of nowhere. I didn't expect it. Out of nowhere, I get pulled over on the side of the road and cuffed and stuffed and released on bail. And what had happened was an adventure video I had made back last year. We went out and looked at 3 old Saabs on a farm here in Massachusetts. I learned about those cars from a social media post that had, I got a map from online that someone else had gone there and found them. I went there and made a video. The people saw that video and they weren't very happy. Now, I thought those cars, like I said, were on a public area, public farm, but apparently they weren't. And I had to spend a lot of money on a lawyer to not really get in a lot of trouble. In the end, it ended up just being continued without a finding and a year of unsupervised probation. But it kind of put me down in the dumps, Be careful out there making YouTube videos, because sometimes, you think you're in the green and you find out too late you were in the red. So yeah, I just had to work a lot of extra hours, do a lot of extra projects to come up with enough money to pay the lawyer. I think it was somewhere around $7,000 or $8,000 for the whole experience, and I don't wish to repeat that, so I'm going to take some care in the future with my exploration videos and double check and make sure I'm on legal ground. And if you're out there doing exploration or making videos of the same topic, make sure you dot your I's and cross your T's. It can get real expensive really quick. Well, anyways, though, that's enough of the bad news. The good news, well, here's the corner. Not much has changed on this end, but we got some changes going on back here, I got to tell you. Now, I don't remember the last time you guys have seen the bay. I think it would have been that Chevy with the wheel bearing, or that Cadillac we did the motor, but there was not this big blue toolbox sitting here. You guys will remember back late last summer, I asked you guys if you knew any technicians out there, and or entry-level mechanics, and we got a guy who's over here. His name is Sean. Great guy. He's got to be the most positive guy we've ever had in here. Probably the most positive man I've ever met in my life. Sean's a great guy. He's a good part of the crew here. Not the fastest, not the most experienced, but he's a quick learner, and we got him using the tire machine a lot. He's really good at that. Over here, this big box, this would be the newest guy. This would be Will. Will's box here. Will, interestingly enough, actually worked for this shop, worked for Approve Auto when we were in the old location before I worked there. So he kind of fits here really well. He knows Dave. He gets along with the owner, Dave, really well, and working out great. Now, I don't really mind. At first, I kind of didn't like this big toolbox sitting here because it's a big old blocker of the view. I can't see outside. But what ended up happening was, because of the way his box in the bay has to set up, this used to be my bench. We'd have one bench. We each have like one bench. And then this bench here would have been shared with the bay. When Sean over here first started out, he was in this bay here. And he had his toolbox over in the corner, and he would use this bench, and I would use this bench. But now, because of this, I get this whole awesome corner right here to go with Amesie's main corner. We get my back corner. Look at that, huh? What a little workspace. And I really like it. I really do like having 2 benches. Got my Apprentice Bulldog vise right there. I've got everything I need under it, the plasma cutter, my fans and all the stuff, good storage. What I thought was going to be like a big oppressive wall and be inconvenient ended up being extremely convenient. So that's some of the updates we have here, and now that we have a guy in the bay, and we got a guy in the bay over here, I'm going to be able to get back into filming more videos here in the shop. Like I said, between the court case and having to make up the work from these other 2 techs, these other 2 bays weren't really full. Me and Paul, the other tech here, we had to, step up and work a lot harder and get a lot more done during the day. And for the last 6 months or so, I just haven't had time to grab the cameras. Anybody that makes YouTube videos knows that to make the video takes time to move the cameras, to think about it, and it takes time away from getting customers' cars out the door. And like I've said from day one with the YouTube channel, the customer's car has to come before the video. Has to. I can't sacrifice the work to make entertainment. That's not what my job is. I let you guys in on the YouTube channel just because I have a lot to show, and I think I'm pretty good at showing it. Well, anyways, that's about it here at the shop. Some big changes have gone on. A lot of stuff going on. I haven't really bought any new tools, but you know, as you guys have known, I bought the old the Snap-on X-Maxes, and I have a ton of trips planned with those trucks and the trail trucks where we're going to go off-road and we're going to find some old cars. There's some new cars I found out there, but there's just it's been a real hell of a winter as far as weather too. We've had back-to-back nor'easters. You guys not from around New England, a nor'easter is a low pressure area turning in the Atlantic, and it turns around and comes back and throws all the moisture of the Atlantic on us. So we get a lot of snow out here in New England. We've had, I think, what, two or three nor'easters. We get another one coming this week, and we went from no snow to so much snow that I can't go out in the woods and can't go on any adventures because everything's covered in snow and ice. Well, anyways, we got some project updates. I think we're going to leave the shop now. We're going to go back to where all the project cars are kept, and we're going to go through all of them and see how they've held up the winter. And I think it'd be a good day to get a cold start on the Goldwing. I think the Goldwing deserves to have a little fresh fuel run through those carburetors before it goes bad, because I do not want to take Goldwing carburetors apart. Well, all right, guys, let's take a ride back to the house and see what's going on. Well, all right, guys, we're back here at the house, and it's pretty dang cold out. It's like 20 degrees, not counting the wind chill, so I apologize for any wind noise you may or may not hear. We're out in the nature, so it is what it is. So, project tours, what's been going on with everything? Well, not a whole heck of a lot. Actually, not anything at all has been going on with anything. I think one of the last videos, we said we were going to be replacing the rally wagon back there, but stuff happened, so I just kept the old rally wagon rolling. You guys will remember the red wagon. The red wagon sits right where I left it. I haven't done a darn thing with it. I haven't even started it since we parked it here. Shortly after we picked up this wagon was when I got picked up by the law, so I just put everything on hold. The red wagon sits here on hold, waiting to become the next rally wagon, waiting for some money to be freed up. We got the old 96, sits here where it is. Last thing we did on that is we patched up the trunk here. So we take a look and see how that's held up the winter. And yeah, pretty much is just as we left it, ready to rock and roll. We got honestly, gotta admit, I really forgot where we are. I don't remember the next step on this project. I think it's just some minor metal work to it, and the 96 will be ready to do whatever I'm going to do with it, whether it be paint it or leave it like it is. But we're going to put that on the road, be driving that this summer. The Sonnet has seen better days. We did an update on that, I think, late summer, and it needs a lot. There was a big list on it, and it just sits here. It's just been sitting for the winter. I haven't had any money or ambition really to go much further, but should still start right up. We're not going to do a cold start on it. What's that? That's new. Wonder how that happened. Big chunk of paint. Look how thick the paint is on that thing, huh? Yeah, oh well, is what it is. But you know, I'm kind of on the fence about this car. I'm trying to decide if I want to continue with it or move it on or use it for parts or what to do. I do love the Sonnet. I do love the look and the sound of it, but it's been kind of tough to have so many vehicles, you know, keeping them in. I live in an apartment. I'm surprised the landlord allows me to do this. I guess it's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission sometimes, and that's kind of the approach I've used on these. But nothing's really changed. Nothing's really happened. Probably the biggest change is we've updated. Oh, sorry, I'm walking through some deep snow here. We've upgraded the old lady's car. She went from the old lady's Maxima, which sits here still. Thing still runs great. Still hauls the mail. Fast car. If anybody remembers the old Maxima, they used to call these the 4DSC cars, four-door sports cars, but one of the best six-cylinder engines ever made in that thing, and this thing just runs great. Doesn't skip a beat. Got a few issues with it, but yeah, I think I'm just going to move this one along. I'm asking $1,000 for it. If anybody out there wants a good cheap car, I'll let the Maxima go cheap. Automatic, 230,000 miles, yada yada. But yeah, we picked her up a Ford Escape there. I picked that thing up for $275. Yeah, it's great being a mechanic. You buy those specials that need some work. It needed the AC clutch had locked up on that truck, the Escape back there. It locked up the motor, and the person thought the motor was junk. They were from Rhode Island and drove up here when it happened, and they had to go home, and they didn't want to tow the truck back, so they pretty much just sold it for scrap weight. And I picked that thing up, and man, what a score that was. I haven't really done any video on that because, you know, it's just a Ford Escape SUV. It's nothing special. But if anybody wants to see anything about that, we'll show that. We'll show that. Now it's a little treacherous here. Let's see if we can make it down the bank and without breaking my neck. And that brings us to the backyard. I got a few things that happened here this year. We had a lot of trees come down. It was a very violent weather winter. And sorry about sun glare, but yeah, this tree broke multiple spots a couple times during the storm. And got some cleanup for me here. You can see the beach. The beach fared all right. There was actually another limb. A tree came down. I think that big piece right there. And it came down and completely blocked my beach. And then the river froze over, froze that log, froze that tree, and took it away. So Mother Nature throws it on the beach. Mother Nature takes it off the beach. But I still got to clean all this mess up. No big deal, though. No big deal. That brings us over here to the heart stopper. The branch that almost took out everything I own down here. Walking through this snow is awful deep. Yeah, this branch broke from way up there and came right down on my boats, on my kayak and my pedal boat. There's a pedal boat I never really showed you guys. Picked the thing up real cheap on Craigslist. Hopefully there's no holes in it. I got an electric outboard motor I'm going to be outfitting that with, and 24 volt speed control. We're going to make a cool little boat out of that sometime in the very near future. Did I mention spring is next Tuesday? Doesn't feel like it. So yeah, I don't think it damaged the kayaks. It might have taken out my John boat, but no big deal on that end. It wasn't really a very good boat. The kayaks, I think it gutted a little bit, but hopefully no damage. I'm just glad that branch didn't fall on my shed. So yeah, there's that little outboard, electric outboard we're going to be outfitting onto that electric boat, or that pedal boat. That brings us into my shed. We got the bug out bike we made a year ago. We made this bike like a year ago right now to go find the treasure in Byfield. And I used it on that trip, and I didn't have a single chance to ride this bike at all this year. This bike has sat in this shed since we built it, and yeah, I'll get to using it someday, probably, maybe. Yeah, sure. Bug out bike is what it is. The Super Scoot. I did a little bit of work to it last winter. In the fall, I wanted to do like a whole episode on this bike again, go do some burnouts and wheelies and cause some trouble in traffic. But, you know, stuff got in the way and stuff happened. What I had done that you guys probably haven't seen is I made this whole custom front end treatment for it. This was an old skateboard. I always envisioned having a skateboard courier shelf, package shelf on the front, and that's what that is. I also added another front end with bigger brakes, 2 piston caliper brakes, and this neat fender setup on it. Should start right up. I probably got to clean the carburetor. I really rode this a few times, and the reason I didn't really ride this bike much is because of this bike, the Goldwing. This thing is still such a score. This thing went so well all year. I know I made a couple of cameo appearances on the channel, but I never really dug into it, never really got into it with a good video. Stuff I've done to it you guys haven't seen. I've changed up these handlebars to a set of Pro Taper bars. These are off a Yamaha Raptor. They're ATV bars. And the reason I went with those instead of those ape hangers it had is if you look at the position of the bars, the height of the bars, and where the handle grips actually end up. And I have a picture here from the climber manual of the bike with stock bars, and if you look real close at the position, it's pretty damn close. These might be a little more straight out, which I like mountain bikes. I kind of like it that way anyway, but perfect handlebars. And the reason is is these have this these adapter to let the other bars go past that big ugly fairing that would have been on the bike years ago that I will never ever 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 put back on this bike, because I think this thing just looks great just like it is. Some other stuff that happened with this bike: it would never run right. The bike would run decent, it would run really well, or it wouldn't run very well at all at an idle. The idle would be up and down, and there were two actual issues with it. One, when I decided to, one day I was riding it and I heard a chirping coming. This actually has two timing belts for each bank of cylinders, and I heard a pulley chirping, so I pulled it apart because I didn't want to break a belt and damage this beautiful bike. And you know, I noticed that the timing was off one tooth on the passenger side, and that's the side with the points. So what happened is that it was off one tooth, so the ignition timing was never quite right. I think when it would advance, it would run well. When it would retard, it would run really horrible, and it was always all right. But so what I did is, you know, pulled the covers off, checked the time, and set that up. And then I started the bike after I had the timing set, just to make sure everything worked right before I put the covers on. And I noticed that on this side here, the yeah, there it is. The cam cog was wiggling like this, like whoa, 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 like it's bent, and it looks like, I don't know if you can see it. You can actually, maybe we can get it. I don't know if it translates so you can see it, but it's actually bent. And what it looked like, for some reason, I don't know why, someone tried to pry it off with a pry bar or something. You know, you got to use a puller to get them off. They tried to use a pry bar. I don't know why. I ended up just ordering a replacement set of two on eBay. I think they cost me 12 bucks for the pair, so $6 a piece. Threw that on, that took care of that. But I still got to replace the belts and the tensioner pulleys, and that is going to be a video really soon where we're going to rip this apart. And I'm actually going to go to AutoZone and buy everything I need to replace those timing belts, the pulleys, everything in there I'm going to get from AutoZone. You know, it's kind of weird, but I've come to the conclusion that Honda, when they built this bike and designed this motor, they used some stuff that was off-the-shelf car stuff. So there was a Honda engine running around that would use these timing belts. So you can get the part numbers. You can get the part numbers online and end up with everything you need to replace the timing belts on one of these. So we're going to be doing that job real soon. But for now, I haven't started this bike since before Christmas, at least. Before Christmas, and it's ice cold. It's just been sitting here in the shed. It's cold as it gets. Let's see if we can get a cold start. Now, if you bear with me, I'm not going to put you guys down. I got you on the gimbal here, so let's see if we can do this one-handed. Let's see why not. Well, battery still got juice. These do have an accelerator pump, so a couple of pumps to richen it up. Oh man, come on. Did I mention I wish these had a better door? All right, yeah, I had to put the door back up. So yeah, battery's charged, battery's got juice in it. Let's one issue I have with this bike, which isn't really that big of a deal, but it is at the moment, is the choke here doesn't stay out unless you hold it, which really isn't much of a trouble. But yeah, let's see. There it is. I'm just gonna hold that choke, but I think if I let it in, she might, yeah, she's gonna come down a little too much. No real smoking or nothing. Boy, no, maybe I spoke a little too soon. It's allowed to smoke on choke, right? Allowed to smoke a choke. No, can't let the choke out. You guys push the throttle a little. Oh, I can't wait to take this thing out. I've been jonesing some Goldwing action. All right, I'm gonna juice up the idle a little bit here. That should do it. Not happy without some choke. go. Now the headlight, I don't know if I showed any time in the past, the headlight was actually from the fairing because I never had the correct headlight. But the trouble is none of this wiring wants to fit in, which was all right last year because I was trying to figure out all the wiring. It was all disconnected, but I got all the blinkers working correctly. I got everything working to take a sticker, and had a lot of fun on this bike last year. Gonna have a lot of fun on this bike this year. And honestly, I've still yet to wash this bike. I still haven't even took soap and water to this thing since I bought it. I did some polishing on the chrome and just some dry wiping and some detailing spray, but I've still yet to break out the hose and scrub brush on this bike. But yeah, she definitely needs a clean up for spring. Awesome. Awesome. Well, anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the little update. The bad news in the beginning, it is what it is. You know, it's kind of why none of the projects got touched, because I had to work to make up for what we didn't have going on at the shop. I had to work to make extra money to give to a lawyer. You know, so, you know, I couldn't make as many videos. I couldn't do all I wanted to do, but now that spring's coming, as soon as this snow melts, we're going to get some good video content on this channel. We're going to get some good repair videos up at the shop, and we'll see how the year goes. But it's primed to be a lot better than the whole winter has been, man. We got a good summer on tap, right? Good summer. Well, anyways, guys, that's about it for the updates. That's about it for everything going on now. We got to get some of this snow out of here. We'll get the projects going. So anyways, on that note, guys, and until next time, keep it out of the cabbage.